happens at annual conference that unfortunately, unless you decide to go get ordained, you are never going to get to see. And that's really a shame, is that at the start of conference, we separate into the laity, the non-ordained, and the ordained, the clergy. And there's a lay session being held at the same time that the clergy session is being held. And so about 900 clergy gathered in a room together. And while we were there, we worshiped. And we began our worship, 900 of us, by singing a cappella, "How Great Thou Art," in perfect 4-part harmony. I still get chills. I'm standing in the middle of it. It was incredible. And it's one of those things that happens in our lives when we realize the power of our faith. That just by singing a song together that praises God, you can feel power and movement and grace just wash over you. And it's one of those times when we realize that the songs of the days gone by are not dead. In fact, the music that we are singing today will become part of the hearts and the standards of the Christianity of tomorrow. And it's a good thing for us to learn new songs and discover that the hearts of these songwriters of Christianity today are being just as moved and as impactful in their songwriting as Charles Wesley and Isaac were long before this day. But when we gather together, something powerful happens. And that's what our scripture is about. That as the early disciples and the first apostles were gathering together, their presence started to move people in new ways. And they started to encounter God doing things. Did you catch the fact that they suddenly became unconcerned with material goods? That instead of being consumed with the desire to hold on, it said that they would band together and have all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods, and then the proceeds, the money that they made, they would share freely with all those who were in need. And that they spent time together, and that from their time together, their faith grew. Their religious observance, which at the time was gathering together for a common meal and breaking bread and communion. That over time, their faith was so strong that people couldn't help but want to have a part in that. Christianity today needs to rekindle that spirit. 3,000 joining in one day. Wow. We would break some records. It would be incredible if today our faith moved people to the point that it did then, and I think it can. I think it can, but I think it takes a full, all-in commitment on our part. Amen. We've been talking about those words of one of our founding parents, John Wesley, who was an Anglican priest in England. And John Wesley had a saying that he preached in a sermon called The Use of Money. And it was, gain all that you can, so that you can save all that you can, so that you might give all that you can. And the early followers of Jesus were giving all that they could in our reading from the book of Acts today. And, we think oftentimes in church that we don't want to talk about money, and I get that. I get that we don't want to talk about money. But my first job outside of babysitting and nannying was a bill collector. So we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about it because I'm very comfortable talking about it and telling you that you owe it. So it's going to happen. But what I want to tell you is that I have actually been ordained and called into discussions about money. And we don't think about that with our clergy. But as we stood there in the clergy session, one of the things we do after we worship together is that all of those who are being ordained stand before us, and the bishop will ask them questions that they must answer before they can be ordained. It's called the Historic Examination for Admission into Full Connection. And there are 19 questions that they must answer. But I want to draw your attention, and this is our book of discipline. So if you're ever very curious, we can get you a copy of this and you can look and see. But under the section called the Ministry of the Ordained, there for admission and continuance of full membership in the annual conference, the bishop, as chief pastor, shall engage those seeking to be admitted and prepare them to answer these questions. Number 17, are you determined to employ all your time in the work of God? And they have to say yes. 18, are you in debt so as to embarrass you in your work? And they must answer no. And 19, will you observe the following directions? Be diligent, never be unemployed, never be triflingly employed, never trifle away time, neither spend any more time at one place than is strictly necessary. We're not to hang out places, we're to be purposeful. Be punctual. Do everything exactly at the time. And do not mend our rules, but keep them, not for wrath, but for conscience sake. So it's very interesting that all of the clergy of the United Methodist Church are asked very specifically before they are ordained if they will work, if they will do their job to earn all that they can, and to be part of the modeling for the entire church, that we are to work diligently. I once had some church members at my last church have a discussion. I'm going to take some poetic license and call it a discussion about whether they paid me to do ministry or not. And so one congregant said, yes, we pay her to do ministry. That's what we do. And the other one said, no, that's not what we do. We pay her so that she doesn't have to have a job that would keep her from doing ministry. I have never heard anybody say that before. And the fact that it didn't come from a clergy person was like, wow, that's really brilliant. It was incredible because the idea was that nothing should stand between me and the work that God had called me to do. And so the wage, the living wage that is paid to clergy, in this paradigm that one of my congregants was offering, was that money was to liberate me from being distracted from my work. And the truth is that I am yours 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, almost for 365 days a year. I'm entitled to 4 weeks vacation, no more than 4 Sundays annually. But if you were to call me tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. and say, I'm in the hospital and I need you to visit me, I will go. And I will not go because I think that you will file a report if I don't. But I will go because in your time of need, nothing is to keep me from responding to you. That is my duty. And yet we live in a culture right now in the church, not a secular culture, but in a culture of the church where money is off limits for discussion. And what that ends up doing is causing more pain and heartache, right? If I don't talk to you about money, guess what happens in about October or November? I get to come to you and say, this is how far behind in our annual budget we are. Right? Nobody wants that discussion. Right? Instead, let's have a discussion throughout the year that simply reminds us why it's important for us to be good stewards of all the things God has given us. Not just hearts that can love, not just hands and feet that can do the work of Jesus Christ, not just minds that can pray and think and be mindful of the needs and understand what it is that we should be doing, but that even our bank accounts are part of our faithfulness. And I know that that makes people uncomfortable. I know that it makes people uncomfortable to talk about tithing. The fact that if you were to take your salary and say, before I even pay taxes, I am going to pledge 10%. So I make $50,000 a year. That means that $5,000 before I pay any taxes come to the church. And that is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of things you could do with $5,000. I could be rolling that into a 401k. I could be putting that into my child's 529 account because college isn't getting any cheaper. I could be doing lots of things with that money, but you know, I'm going to tell you that when I pledge that $5,000, that 10%, I turn it over to God and I say to God, that's a lot of money, Lord. And you know that my family could use that money. But I am entrusting myself into your care. And if I, out of faith, give to you, I'm not saying that you're going to multiply that 5,000 in my bank account so that suddenly it feels like 20. But that instead, that you will help me to be good stewards of the 45,000 that I have left. That you will help me to be frugal and diligent. And that if the need should arise where I am financially strapped because of a crisis, that you will help me navigate that. And that through your miraculous ways, you will provide for me. So giving that tithe is a step of faith for me. But it's not just me. There are 2 other people in my household. And I'm making a step of faith for them. And that's scary. Can we just say that? That is scary when you are making financial decisions that affect other people. But I know that the financial decisions that we as a family make affect untold numbers of people. Not only here in Crozet because of the outreach of this church's ministries to which I give, but to the Virginia Annual Conference, which is almost the entire geographical area of this state, as well as the Northern Virginia area where I grew up. And I know that the life that I grew up in is the exact reason that I give. Because whenever there was a need, I grew up watching a church respond. To people in our midst, to people in the community, to people far, far away in Sierra Leone. I watched a church say, we will not let money be a barrier. Hallelujah for that. Because my father, all the time that I was growing up, and he's still working, my father worked doing congressional appropriations for the Army. And so he worked in the Pentagon for over 30 years. And every day he would get up before the crack of dawn and he would traverse rush hour traffic in Northern Virginia to get into the Pentagon. And there in the Pentagon, he would do the diligent work of taking what Congress had said was okay and deciding whether the requests of 2- and 3-star generals were appropriate. And so his job was to safeguard that money, our taxes, to safeguard our taxes so that it would not be inappropriately released or used for anything that Congress had not approved. And my father often butted up against generals who said, I'm a 3-star general. And you know what my father said? So what? I don't care. I'm not in the Army. I'm a civilian. And technically, my father outranked them. Because guess what? You control the money. And so every day I watched my father do this, play this gatekeeper role, this assigned role from our government. Our job in the church is not to gatekeep. Our job is to open the gates and let God's grace flood into the world. And sometimes that grace looks like open acceptance and letting all people come into the presence of our Lord and Savior. Sometimes that looks like feeding those who are hungry, letting them come and actually take all the food that they need from our food pantry. Sometimes that means letting people come into our midst and say, I have this utility bill that I can't pay this month, or I need this much help with my mortgage or my rent. And we let the purse strings open. We do that. We let the goodness that we have been blessed with, the goodness that we have given in honor and glory of our God, and we let it go. And that takes faith. It takes incredible faith to let those things go. Because all of us have moments where we go, will there be enough? I think that part of the problem in Christianity today is that when we start talking about tithing, we have very real concerns. What are you going to do with my money? Are you really qualified to handle my money? Are you going to take care of it the best way? Are you going to be frivolous with it? I promise you, I do not own a cash gun where we spray $1 bills in the bank. That is not happening. Although that would be amazing. I do not have it. I promise you that we agonize over whether or not we should spend money for things. Because it is not your money or my money. It's God's. And I don't really want to stand before God and go, I probably shouldn't have bought that. I'm sorry. It's a big flop. Instead, I hope you want to join with me and all of the leadership of our church to be able to one day stand before our Maker on the throne and say, we gave all that we could because you blessed us to earn all that we could. And we saved all that we could so that in the end, it would be not us but you who are glorified, O God. And if we can do that, then I believe that that will outweigh all the fear. Because we are afraid to give our money. That thought process I walked through with you just a few moments is real. Will there be enough? And we are afraid in our heart of hearts that there will not be enough. God, there might not be enough. This could be a really bad year. It could be tight. There could be things that go wrong. And God, I just don't know. Can I pay you in December? You know what God says? I'm going to wait till December to give you my love, my presence, and my grace. Amen. I give it to you every day, before you wake up, before you pray, before you ask, I give to you. Amen. And I'm not asking for all that you have. Just asking for 10%. 10% to combine to make the world a little more like the kingdom, where all of our needs are met instantly, where we don't have to have fear. I can remember being 19. I was 19. And I had that awful time when you have to make a decision. Do you pay the water bill or the electric bill? You ever been there? And you have to make that decision. That is a big slice of humble pie when you have to figure out whether you're going to pay your water bill or your electric bill. And I agonized over it. And so for about 2 weeks, I had water and a lot of candlelit. Because you have to make hard decisions. But you know what? I kept tithing. I kept tithing. And if you had said to that 19-year-old, by the time you're 36, you will be pastoring a church that is vibrant and growing and doing good ministry with a salary that is over any expectation you ever had. And your family will not go without. That 19-year-old would have said to you, really? Because I'm taking cold showers in the dark. And the 36-year-old would have said, but you have some faith because you still paid your tithe. And God does not forget. And God is good. Amen. We can be that faithful. We can do it. We are able to meet our needs. We are able because God is not just good, God is incredible. Amen. God does not just give us so that we can scrape by. God gives us abundantly. Amen. And for some of us, it feels really lean right now, but for some of us, it's a time of abundance. And if we follow the example of those first disciples, we will find out that they even themselves out when we really do trust and have faith. That for those who find it lean, the abundance will help. And for those who have an abundance and say, what should I do with this? God says, I have given you the incredible gift of being in a place to bless another person. Now, I have never been able to sustain a church with my tithe. I'm making more right now than I have ever made in my life, and I'm only able to tithe $5,000. That's not going to float a church. In fact, I'm pushing the VBC budget right now. Instead, God is able to move in the hearts and the lives of many, many Christians. And because of the generosity of Christianity, not only can we have worship to honor and glorify God, but we are going to impact almost 100 children. 100 children in a week. I talked to one of my friends at annual conference. We went out to breakfast. There were 4 Sarahs, and by the way, that's an awesome thing. 4 Sarah clergy all in the same room. Like, we need t-shirts. And so we went out to breakfast together, and my friend was telling me about an incredible triumph she had, and she was downplaying it. She was saying, tell me about your vacation Bible camp. And I said, oh, well, here's what we're doing. We're doing it from scratch. We did it in-house. And she said, that is amazing. She said, how many do you have registered? I said, well, our goal is, about 100. That's the goal. And she said, that would be awesome. And I said, well, what's yours? And she said, well, it was last week, and she said, it's 85. We've got 85 kids. I said, that's great. She's in the Stanton district. I said, that's great. People are more spread out. I said, 85 sounds great. She said, well, when I came here 2 years ago, it was 12. And I just looked at her and I said, why are you not like, this is amazing. I'm like, don't downplay this. This is amazing. 12 to 85? How did you do that? How did you do that? And you know what she said? I decided to partner with another church. And together, 2 churches that had less than 24 children combined helped 85. So, when we give generously, God multiplies the benefits and the effects. Instead of each church saying, nope, we're going to do this on our own, we got this. We're going to pour out all of this on just these 12. If they were willing to work together and to pool their resources like the original apostles were, they multiplied 12 to 85. That is what the kingdom looks like. When we step out on faith, when we say, you know what, God, I'm giving it all to you, even the bank account. And it's okay to admit to God, I'm a little nervous about this, I want you to know. I can feel it right about here. It's okay to admit that. And then God will show us. God will show us that not only is God present and working for us, but God is going to work through us because of what we will do by faith. That is the glory to which we seek to ascend, is it not? Are you not here to change not only your world, but the world? Are you not here because you believe there is something more than your daily grind? Because you believe that God is real and present and working, and that God's hope, grace, good news, love are for everyone. Then let us live, earn, save, and give as if that is our every heartbeat. May it be so. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.